25 years from now, when somebody says Columbus, Georgia, the image that I hope it'll come across, that's that neat, cool town that's got a river running right through it, and it's a vibrant town. It's a fun, progressive town that has a very positive image. I've probably talked to over a dozen different communities about urban developments, especially in second and third tier cities. I've told them that it's not about trying to have a quick fix. It's about a vision. It's about good planning. It's about trying to have every year an incremental success so that you can build off of that success for the next year. And what happens is it's almost like compounding interest. The more successes you have, the more likely you are to have future successes. And when you start adding up the little bitty successes, all of a sudden they become bigger successes, and each one starts leveraging the next, and then you start finding that you start growing quicker. With respect to downtown, Bill Turner, Jimmy Blanchard, and Roger Deadwilder were the initial people who said this could be done. And I can remember literally on one of my first days over here with the Bradley Company going to an Uptown Columbus board with Jimmy Blanchard as the chairman of the board and Roger Deadwilder as executive director, and it was a relatively small board. There were only about 8 or 9 people at the board meeting, and they were talking about a vision for the downtown. I was just amazed at the vision that they were talking about, especially when you looked around downtown. There were a lot of empty buildings, and there were a lot of folks who were basically saying it couldn't be done. It's one thing to have, for a few people to have a vision, but if you don't take the vision of those few people and get it out into the community and have other people feel the vision, it won't ever stick. It's never going to work if it's just 1 or 2 people's vision. It has to be, you have to have buy-in from the other people, and that's why those incremental successes become important, because the incremental successes cause people to jump on board, jump on the bandwagon. It is a journey without an end, and it is a journey that you have got to be prepared to take 3 steps forward and then get knocked down and have 2 steps backward, but you've at least gained 1 step. Hard infrastructure like streetscapes, like civic center, like construction buildings, married with programmatic infrastructure that a lot of the philanthropics brought. All of that led into what is now, I think, crescendoing in with the Whitewater that has now totally transformed, I think, our downtown, both from an internal standpoint of the way people in Columbus see us, as well as external of the people who are now coming to Columbus. Almost monthly, people come in to hear the story, and John, I give all the credit to John. Matter of fact, very first time John mentioned it to me 15, 20 years ago, whatever it was, I said, well, good luck, John. I hope you have a good time. I didn't think it could be done. It wasn't in my vision. It wasn't in my, I had other projects, and I just thought that was too big of a project to take on. Being a lawyer and also being a real estate developer, my mind quickly went to, well, what are the hurdles we got to jump over? Now, most deals, I know I got to jump over 2 or 3 hurdles. But when John mentioned this one, there wasn't 2 or 3 hurdles. This was the 440 and the hurdles all the way around the track. We had issues with the Army Corps of Engineers. We had issues with Georgia Power. We had issues with the historical people. We had issues with FERC. We had issues with Georgia EPD. We had issues with Indian tribes. I can't begin to tell you the number of hurdles that were out there. People within various bureaucracies fighting amongst each other within the bureaucracy. Not only were they fighting against us, but they were fighting against each other. And quite frankly, the Corps of Engineers ended up being one of our biggest allies. But for them coming on board and helping us, I don't know that we would have done it. Knock on wood, to some degree, we were a little lucky. The very first time we approached the owner of the Eagle Phenix Dam, they put an extraordinarily high value on their real estate because it was still being operated as a dam and a hydro-producing facility. So they were selling it as an ongoing business, and we couldn't afford it. It was just way too much. About 6 months later, lightning hit the upper powerhouse and burned it down. Same time that was happening, Pilatex was moving out of their mill, and there was no demand, wasn't as much demand for the power. And so they came back to us and said, if you let us keep the insurance proceeds, we'll drop our price to a more reasonable price, and that's how we ended up buying.
So that power strike was a huge deal. That lightning strike.
That was one of the hurdles we wasn't aware of, but it was a hurdle. For years we've talked about that the river joins us, doesn't divide us, but their attitude and their just absolute persistence that they're going to work with Columbus in a lot of ways has been very refreshing. And as I've told them, I don't think that we would have bought Phoenix Plaza but for their leadership and their vision and their desire to move Phenix City forward. It reminds me, and I've told them this, I said, y'all's excitement and y'all's enthusiasm and your vision for what you want Phenix City to be reminds me of Uptown Columbus 25 years ago. The renaissance we have with respect to this river, we've got to look at it from both sides of the river because I've got people over on the Columbus side that are looking at Phenix City, and there are people over on the Phenix City side looking at Columbus. And the plan needs to be how do we develop the entire Chattahoochee Valley, of which the river in the middle is the anchor that springs forward the development.